Kaina, thank you so much for the introduction. My name is Emily Burgos. I manage the Small Business Finance Center at IBank. I'm going to kind of skip over a little bit of what IBank does and just dig into what the Finance Center is doing for COVID disaster recovery specifically. The Small Business Finance Center has been managing the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program since 2011, but the Small Business Loan Guarantee Program has actually been around since the late 60s. In our Small Business Loan Guarantee Program, we do have a disaster relief loan guarantee program that received $50 million worth of funding at the beginning of April to assist directly with COVID recovery. Now, with that $50 million, we funneled it into our regular program, but we were targeting businesses with capital needs of $50,000 or less, historically in areas of low to moderate income, and really hoping to reach borrowers that typically have difficulty getting access to capital. So the way a guarantee program works is quite simple. Banks and CDFIs oftentimes have trouble lending to small business because there's a lot of risk factors that they have to consider. And in a disaster scenario, especially one like a pandemic, those risks are exacerbated. So what we do is we offer the lender a 95% guarantee on a loan to an eligible small business. So that just tells the lender if the loan goes bad or if the borrower is unable to pay, we'll go ahead and cover their loss up to 95%. So that's what we've been doing here. For the first part of the year, we were only offering this program to folks who could not access federal disaster relief resources. So folks who were able to get EIDL or PPP loans were not eligible. We did definitely listen to feedback from our partners and from the business community. And as those federal programs fell short, we opened up our program on July 1st for any business that was negatively impacted by COVID. So there's a couple of questions you need to ask yourself when deciding whether or not to seek a loan guarantee. And one is, are you eligible for the program? So if you see here on the screen, there's an infographic. It's also available on my website. We can help just about any business in California that's operating legally. Unfortunately, if you're operating in a federally legal business, we won't be able to help you. And you have 750 employees or fewer. We have very few exclusions in this program. Some of the easiest ones to list are passive real estate investment, housing, and gambling, and that sort of stuff. We have some limitations on lobbying activities, but if you're a 501c6, go ahead and reach out and we can figure out if you would be eligible. Next slide. The first thing you want to do in order to apply for a loan is reach out directly to a lender. So that's going to be the quickest way to get the loan application process started. You're going to negotiate the terms of the loan with the lender. The lender will apply for the guarantee directly with me. So you don't actually have to interface with me at all unless you have questions. You can work directly with the lender and it's their responsibility to go and get the guarantee. Once the lender has a loan package, they'll submit it and we'll decide if we're able to offer a guarantee on that loan. Next slide. The next question you probably have is, what can I use the money for? And that's a great question. In this program, we do get a bit specific about what the money can be used for. According to our guidance, we have to prove that you actually suffered economic injury as a result of the pandemic. For most businesses, this is not a difficult task. If you've been shut down or if you can show notably less income than this period last year, then you'll have no trouble showing that you've suffered that economic injury. And then the loan proceeds must be used to either directly cure that injury or to keep the business open. And as I mentioned previously, the loan terms are going to be negotiated between you and the lender. That being said, if the lender wants a 95% guarantee, they have to give you an interest rate of prime plus 1 or less. So they are incentivized to offer you a lower interest rate to get a higher guarantee. Next slide. I highly recommend you visit my website. My list of participating lenders is constantly changing. So you can see who's actually on there making these disaster loans and what area they cover. The other reason why I would visit my website is we've actually noticed that we're having some lenders run out of money to make loans. So separately from the $50 million we received at the beginning of April, we also received $25 million to help inject some money into the small business lending community. Now, without boring you with the intimate details, what we're working on is leveraging that $25 million into $100 million plus with capital from the private sector in order to create a loan fund for small dollar loans to be made by CDFIs to businesses recovering from COVID. I'll go ahead and share a link to the California Rebuilding Fund. Just kidding, that's not the correct link. I will put in the correct link. That program is currently being developed. We are currently fundraising for it. And it will, as I mentioned, inject quite a few $1 million into the small business lending community for small businesses to get loans. The benefit to you is that there actually is an online application portal for that program. So you would go online, input your information, and then they would match you with a lender who's going to be able to make that loan. In the meantime, please check my website for the lenders who are using my disaster relief guarantee program.